Hey there! In today's episode, we're going to be looking at the Kerbal inventory system and Kerbal attachment system. Together, they form one of the most useful mod sets ever created for KSP. Kerbal attachment system used to be a single mod that had all this capability built into one, but its part storage functionality was a bit clumsy, so the mod authors rebuilt that component as the Kerbal inventory system. KIS now serves as the base mod and allows you to build and attach things while in flight. KAS now adds additional ship containers as well as vessel connection functionality through the addition of winches, struts, and pipes. So let's get started as usual with a CCAN install. Alright guys, so because these two mods are made by the same author, they are linked, so we really only have to search for attach. And you can see their Kerbal attachment system, and if we select that and go ahead and apply the changes, you can see only Kerbal attachment systems there. But when we say apply for the next step, you can see the Kerbal inventory system is a required prerequisite. So simply by searching for Kerbal attachment system and doing that install, you're going to get Kerbal inventory system applied as well. So let's continue. There you go. Let's clear this. And now you can see Kerbal attachment system there and Kerbal inventory system right alongside. So I think we're good to go. Let's check out this great little mod in game. So let's go into the VAB and have a look at the new parts. Now what you probably noticed right away is there is a new tab under the Science tab in the parts list called EVA items, and if you select that, you can see a number of the key KIS, KAS components here. The first ones of note I'll mention are the tools themselves. So that's the screwdriver and the wrench. Now these are needed to actually build parts and attach parts with the KIS. So it's not good enough just to carry parts along with you. You need these tools. And they need to be carried by an engineering Kerbal, a Kerbal with the repair attribute, in order to actually place or move parts around. So that's the other thing you have to be mindful of, is you'll need an engineer Kerbal with you on your missions where you want to take advantage of this KIS functionality. So the remainder of the parts are in the Utilities tab, and these are going to be where your containers are, as well as the connector parts like pipes and winches. So a couple right here on the first page. Here's the connector port for transferring resources around. There's a strut that you can add to strengthen vessels while on EVA. And your containers, they consist of both inline and surface mount containers. So there's two inline containers, the ISC 6K and the ILC 18K, and the 6 and 18 refer to the volume of parts that you can store in there. They're both 2.5 meter diameter containers. Obviously the 18 is 3 times longer than the 6, and hence the volume difference. The other containers are the surface mount containers, and that's really two parts. There's the container mount itself, which can be surface attached, and then you attach the SC62 container on top of that mount. Now the SC62 can also be directly surface attached to a node. So if you have a part of your vessel that has an open node, you can attach the container right to it without the mount, but generally speaking, you'll probably be using the mount in conjunction with this container. And as you can see here, this is a 1,000 liter, so it's a fair bit smaller than the inline versions. So let's have a quick look at how all this works. Let's put together a command pod, and we'll use one of the inline containers just to demonstrate how this functionality works. So what you want to do is right click on the container, and what you'll see is a single button for inventory. When you select that button, you see here an inventory panel open up. Again, it gives you some basic information here on the left in terms of the volume, the mass, and the cost. Obviously the volume is the limiting factor in what you can store. There is no mass limitation in these parts. However, obviously the heavier the load is, the more that's going to cost you in terms of your delta V. So there is an indirect cost. There's just not a direct limit on the mass. And as you move parts over, so let's just, for example, move this illuminator light. You can see here it has a volume associated with it as well as a mass, and that starts to contribute towards your limit. And as you can see here on the bottom right, the ×1, that symbol will show, or that number will show on items that are stackable. So in other words, you can take a number of these illuminator lights and put them one on top of each other, and that's how they're stackable there. You can also right click and adjust the quantity up and down with the plus and minus action buttons. And really all that does is save you from using up visually your panels. Now there's a number of items, obviously larger items are not stackable. So here's a Clampetron shielded docking port. It's 1,000 liters for volume, so it's a lot bigger, and no number is shown here indicating that it is not stackable. So lastly, the Kerbals themselves also have inventories, and you put items into those inventories by selecting the command pod seat inventories. So let's close this, and again, if you right click the command pod, you have your normal items there, as well as you can see the seat 0 inventory, seat 1 inventory, seat 2 inventory, and those correspond to the order of Kerbals in the crew tab. So if you go to the crew tab here, you can see Foki, Ansby, and Meredith. Foki would be in seat 0, Ansby seat 1, and Meredith in seat 2. And we're going to have to switch out a Kerbal here because, as I mentioned, we need an engineer to actually use the tools to attach parts. So you're going to need an engineer. So in this case, we're going to need to put any items that we want the engineer to have in the seat 1 inventory. So as we switch here, select that, again you see your inventory panel come up, and you'll want to go to your EVA items, and at a minimum you'll want to put the screwdriver and the wrench. Alright, so now we're good to go. So let's just have a quick look at how this functionality works on the launch pad. So let's move to the launch pad here. So just to demonstrate what we just talked about in terms of the command pod seat inventories, you can see here they've put the Kerbal name in place of seat 0, seat 1, seat 2, and of course this was our engineering Kerbal. So if we pop that, we can see indeed those parts that we placed are there, but there are no parts in the other two Kerbals inventories because we didn't populate those. So if we go ahead and EVA this Kerbal, let's climb up to the top here. Alright, so again, you right click, you can open the inventory pane again. Couple cute little things here. You can remove the helmet. Obviously you wouldn't want to do that, say, on the surface of the moon, but here on Kerbin you're fine to remove the helmet and have the Kerbals with a little bit of a different look here. To equip these items, you right click and you say equip, or you right click and say unequip. Alternatively, the green number here in the top left is the numeric hotkey to equip and unequip. So I'll just zoom in here a little bit more, and if we hit the 1 key, we will see the screwdriver, and then unequip, hit the 3 key, and you can get the wrench. Again, equip, unequip, same thing. Alright, so let's go see how to actually build stuff using these tools and a couple of ships I have waiting for us on the moon. So we've got 2 ships landed here pretty close to each other. One is a command pod with some solar panels but no extra batteries. The other is a science probe with a lot of instrumentation and storage but no power generation or antenna. We can use KIS to link the vessels together and solve these problems, and we'll also build a simple little power station to help get these Kerbals through the long lunar nights. The first thing we'll want to do is get our engineer Bill out on EVA. And we're going to head over to the probe, which has some of the parts we need to get started. And as we saw on the launch pad, as you click your Kerbal and check the inventory, you can see everything that's in his inventory there. And we'll have a look at the inventory attached to the probe here as well. So it's the same method as before. If you click and drag, you can move from one inventory to the other. And it will restrict based on the volume limitations and will not allow you to move items that will push the volume over the maximum allowed. And so there you can see the maximum destination volume reach. So it won't let us move that modular girder segment. But that's okay because we don't need that particular item right now anyways. We want to start with a part that's in the other storage container on the other side. So let's start with this ground base item, and we will drag that into our inventory because it will fit. And then we'll head over here, and what I want to do is put that ground base in between the two vessels, roughly in the middle. And what you do is you click and hold it from the inventory and drag it out into space here. Now you want to be careful in dropping things on the ground. So if you drop certain items on the ground, they have a tendency to explode and they're destroyed. This particular item, of course, is made to be ground attached, so we're not going to have any trouble with it. But I did want to just give you a quick warning. There are some items which you don't want to drop on the ground. And what we're going to do right here to attach it is we're going to use one of the two main keys. So the H key, as you can see in the writing here on the screen, H to attach. So if you hold the H key down, you will see it turn blue, which means, of course, you're able to attach it at that point. As you move too far away, it's yellow, and when you press the H key, it stays yellow, so you know you can't attach it there. But as you get into a green location and you press H to hold down, it turns blue. That means you're good to go. Now, what you want to do is hit your left mouse button, and there it drops. Now what we want to do is use some pipes, which Bill happens to have two in his inventory already, to start to connect the two vessels together. So we're going to drag one pipe to this ground base that we just established. Again, you can see it is green here as we release the mouse. And when we click H, you'll see it's a little bit hard to tell, but you can see the link actually turns red. Well, what that means is it's telling us that we need the screwdriver to do that, and it's red because we can't do that, and that's because we don't have the screwdriver equipped. So if you hit the 1 key, that will equip your screwdriver. Now when you hit H, you can see it stays greenish blue, and that means you're able to attach at this point. So hit your mouse button and you're attached. Let's do that again over here on the command pod. I'm going to look to put it somewhere around here, hopefully out of the way of everything. Press H, hit your mouse button. Now we have the 2 pipe endpoints. All that's left to do is link them, and you can access that by right-clicking over the connector port, select link, and you can see the green sort of shadowed pipe as you walk. And as you right-click the other connector port and hit link, there you go. So now we have our command pod linked to this ground base. And what we want to do is link our probe in the same way. So we'll grab those two connector ports there, put them in our inventory. Let's drag one over here. Press H and your mouse button. And back to the ground base. Let's drop the other half of this link. And again, let's link them together. There. So now that that's done, what we actually have is one vessel. We no longer have two separate vessels. We're switching now, as you can see, just between Bill on EVA and the ship. And that can be further demonstrated here. As you highlight your resources, you can see it's showing from both vehicles. So by joining together with pipes, you've actually created a single ship, and that will allow you to use everything from both vessels. So this guy is now getting active power from the solar panels on the command pod, and the command pod can make use of the extra battery storage on the probe, etc., etc. Now, I also mentioned we were going to build a small power station, so let's see what other parts we have with us. So we do have this modular girder segment, and again, because this won't fit in Bill's inventory, we tried last time, it won't fit, it's too big. We kind of have to drop it on the ground. So let's just go ahead and drop it here. And that will let me show you the other sort of main button, the main functionality that's here. H is attach, and we've done that a number of times so far. G is grab. So if you want to disassemble something or you want to pick something up, you mouse over it and you hold your G key, and you can see the grab icon appears. So if you do that out here where there's nothing to grab a hold of, it's just grayed out. Over this girder segment, it's green. If you try to grab a whole ship, actually that's just simply too far away. There you go. If I try to grab the ground base, it tells you I can't grab that individual part because there's other parts attached to it. So again, H is to place and attach things. G is to grab. So let's pick that up, and that will allow us to reposition it to another location. Now you're ready to attach again. So it's H and your mouse button. So there you go. We also have some RTGs we brought along in this inventory. And if it will fit, I will also take the... Oh, I don't think it will fit. No, I'll have to make two trips, one to get the solar panel. The RTG we're going to attach here along the top. Then we'll get the solar panel. And we'll attach it to our girder. And we have one half of the power station built. We'll go get the rest of the parts from the other storage container on the other side of our probe. You do have to be close enough. If you right click it and nothing happens, you're just a little too far. So just move a little closer to the storage container and try again. Alright, we'll add our second RTG here. And finally, we'll add our next solar panel. And our little miniature power station will be complete. And there you can see, so we've got some morning and evening solar panels, and we also have two RTGs for when the sun's not visible, in addition to the solar panels we already had on the command pod. And there you have a nice little ship. We can now do our science experiments here and transmit them using the antenna on the command pod, and we've built a nice little miniature lunar base here. Obviously, this is just a simple example for demonstration purposes. You can build entire ships, you can build rovers, anything that you can put into a storage container, you can then go ahead and use to construct vehicles or bases. And with the addition of the links, the pipes, struts, winches, etc., allowing you to connect different vessels together, KAS and KIS really bring a ton of capability to the game, so you're really only limited by your imagination in terms of the things you can build. These are mods like no other because of how they can fundamentally change the way you play the game. If you love KSP, you owe it to yourself to go download these amazing mods. So have fun building stuff in flight, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.